This episode is brought to you by Dime Media. Love supporting local, but looking to save? I've got the solution. Introducing the 2025 CNY Women's Network Members Card. This is your passport to exclusive year-round savings at over 35 amazing women-owned businesses across Central New York. Whether you're grabbing coffee, booking a spa day, or shopping a local boutique, using your members card means more than just discounts. You're empowering women, strengthening small businesses, and building a thriving community one purchase at a time. Want to see all the offers and partner spots? Head to cnywomensnetwork.com/members-card or click the link in our bio. And here's the best part. Join the collective by CNY Women's Network and you'll get your members card free with your annual membership. More details at cnywomensnetwork.com/membership. Let's grow together, one card, one connection, one business at a time. Welcome back to Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and today we're joined by Mayor Ben Walsh. He's the 54th mayor of the city of Syracuse and the first independent to hold office. Since taking office in 2018, Mayor Walsh has led with a vision of making Syracuse a growing city that embraces diversity and creates opportunity for all. Guided by collaboration, innovation, and a deep commitment to community, he's helped lead the city through transformative change while keeping people at the heart of every decision. In today's conversation, Mayor Walsh reflects on his journey in public service, the lessons learned along the way, and his vision for what's next for Syracuse. Whether you're passionate about local leadership, community development, or the city's future, this episode offers an inspiring look at progress, purpose, and possibility. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Mayor Ben Walsh, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thanks so much for having me, Alex.
I'm so excited. It is October 20th when we're recording this right now. When is your last day as mayor?
December 31st. So I will ring in the new year and no longer be mayor.
Okay, well, I'm excited for today's episode. I feel like it's going to be full of, reflection, but I also am excited to just get to know you as a person. If you weren't in public service, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
I've thought about that, and actually, I've thought about it a lot lately because that's going to be the case in a couple months. So, I grew up surrounded by people that help the community. And my father was in public service. He served on the Syracuse Common Council. He served in Congress for 20 years. My mother was a teacher. My aunts and uncles were social workers and hospital administrators and lawyers and judges. So I was just always surrounded by people that helped other people. So I always gravitated towards that. So I anticipate, even though I have not yet figured out what I'm going to do next, that it will be just a different way of trying to make the community a better place and helping people. So prior to my time as mayor, it was in economic development. Where we go from here, still figuring it out.
It sounds like you grew up around a lot of amazing leadership.
Yeah.
Are there any, key themes or anything that really stuck out growing up that you were able to absorb from your family members?
I think just, again, growing up in the household that I did, anytime we were out in the public, maybe we were at Wegmans or even at, my sports games, people would come up to my dad and sometimes they would have nice things to say, sometimes not so nice things, but oftentimes it was asking for his help. And so what I saw him do was listen and then do whatever he could. Sometimes it was something that was within his control. Sometimes it wasn't, and he was just referring them to somebody else. But I think just being a good listener, being embedded, ingrained in the community that you serve. It's important that you understand the people that you serve. Surrounding yourself with other people that that know the community, that maybe have different life experiences, that view the community through a different lens. Those are all things that I picked up along the way, both from my dad, but other family members and people that I looked up to. And that's something that I've tried to mirror in my time as mayor.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What have you learned about yourself as a leader since becoming mayor?
I've learned a lot. I learn every day. And it's funny. I didn't even know what the term imposter syndrome was until a few years ago. And somebody mentioned it and I go, boy, I think I have a little bit of that. And so I think there are times when, when I've maybe questioned myself, perhaps even more than I should. But ultimately, again, going back to my dad, one of his favorite sayings is trust your gut. And what I found is that I have pretty good instincts, and usually what my gut is telling me is the right thing. But also, again, I think it is healthy to be self-reflective and to look back and acknowledge that maybe some of the things that you did weren't right, or you might do differently. I think that's all ultimately, once you kind of get over the insecurities, those are really important qualities in just helping you to be a better leader. And again, I learn every day, and I try to apply what I learn to the next set of decisions or challenges. But yeah, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about our city, and that's one of the reasons I've loved this job, is because it's just a constant challenge. It is really fun sometimes. It's incredibly difficult sometimes, but it keeps the wheels turning all the time, and it just has helped me grow in ways that I couldn't have even imagined.
What have you learned about Syracuse since becoming mayor that you never expected, or maybe something that took you by surprise about this city?
I've lived here most of my life, and I'm pretty familiar with the city and the different neighborhoods. But one of the things that I realized was I spent a lot of time during the campaign going door to door, and then when I became mayor, I got so much value out of it. I looked for other ways to continue that outside of politics, and so we do these monthly, at least in the nice weather, what we call power walks, where we pick a neighborhood and we knock on doors and talk to people. And what I've found is that even in the neighborhoods that you might drive by and not have any reason to be in, or might make certain assumptions about the quality of the character of the people that live there or the circumstances, there isn't a block in the city where the vast majority of people aren't good people just trying to get by, trying to help themselves and their families. And usually the problems in neighborhoods are ultimately narrowed down to, maybe one or two properties or one or two challenging neighbors that, if you can address those situations, you can really turn the trajectory of a block and a neighborhood around pretty quickly. And I've also learned that when you give neighbors a reason to interact with each other and to get to know each other better and to build community, again, you can see that turnaround happen pretty rapidly. So it's just, I think, when you put yourself in places that you haven't spent a lot of time, you challenge a lot of assumptions that you have, and oftentimes you learn that they're wrong. And again, I think we have an incredible city with a lot of amazing people that have a lot of barriers in front of them that they need to climb over every single day just to get by. But when you can help remove some of those barriers, people really thrive, and that's given me a lot of encouragement over the years.
Yeah, and that really speaks to the power of community, right? Like,
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, I think that's always the missing link for a lot of people.
It is, yeah. And this day and age, especially post pandemic, people are oftentimes kind of within themselves, whether it's just sitting inside on social media, or when they're going places, they get in their car, they go wherever they have to go, they come back, they get out of their car and go back in their home. And again, what I found is when we give people reasons to branch outside of themselves, whether it's a neighborhood grant program or maybe it's a community event or a park improvement, you can literally see that community start to build. And when we all look back on, whether it's the neighborhood that we grew up in, or when you look at successful communities, I think we all lament some of that community lost. What I found is it's not lost forever, and you can get that back. And I think that's ultimately what makes neighborhoods and cities strong, is when you intentionally build that community. And that's something that, again, we've worked really hard on, but we need to continue to.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's funny because we all used to know our
Right.
neighbors and have some sort of relationship with our
Yeah.
neighbors. And even in the city of Syracuse, even though the houses are so close together,
Right.
no one talks to each other.
Right.
Everyone is very separate. So I find that to be such an interesting thing that we're all so used to now.
Right.
But I have no doubt if we all started talking to our neighbors a lot more, amazing things could
Yeah.
happen.
I'll give you a perfect example. In the Salt Springs neighborhood over on the east side of the city, we've been working on our Syracuse housing strategy, and we prioritize certain neighborhoods that we identified as middle neighborhoods that, have some positive assets, but have some challenges as well. And we created a grant program, small dollars, just uh, making investments in landscaping, fixing up maybe your front steps or your porch. But we made a requirement of the grant that you had to partner with three different neighbors in order to successfully apply for it. And we got a lot of initial concerns and complaints like, do I really have to do that? I don't know my neighbors. I don't like my neighbors. But if you talk to the folks in Salt Springs now, they will tell you that they have met more neighbors over the past couple months since we launched the program than ever. And that's what will sustain a neighborhood. Grants come and go, mayors come and go, but that community that you build, that's what lasts. And so that's just one example of where I'm seeing it right now. And it's really, really inspiring.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. What I'm curious, what are some of your favorite parts of the job and what are some of the hardest parts?
Yeah, I have a lot of both. In terms of favorite parts, generally speaking, being able to solve problems and help people. So, again, I mentioned growing up with my dad. So now, as mayor, I still do a lot of the grocery shopping. I go to Wegmans, and someone will approach me and say, "Hey, I have a street light out in front of my house," or "There's this pothole that's driving me crazy," and just little quality of life things that really impact people's day to day lives that I'm in a really amazing position to be able to solve and to fix. And so it's those opportunities to solve problems and to help people where they are at that moment with something small but significant to them. That's what gives me energy and drive. And so I love that. I love going to our schools. We have amazing schools in the Syracuse City School District. And so I can probably say this now because I've only got a couple months left, but I don't know that I've ever said no to a teacher who's asked me to come in and speak to their students. I really enjoy it. I'm reminded of how incredible our young people are, even if many of them face barriers of their own. Interacting with young people, helping people, and those are the things that really stand out. In terms of the hard things, they're what you'd expect. We do have a lot of challenges in our community. Far too many people are living in poverty and struggling day to day, and interacting with those individuals and not necessarily being able to help them in a long lasting way that gets them out of where the challenges that they're currently in. That's difficult. Dealing with the violence and the trauma that happens in this community. I tell people there's never a time where I feel more helpless and more powerless than when I'm on the scene of a crime or an incident and I'm talking to a family member or friend that's been impacted by violence, and there's literally nothing that I can do standing in front of them. That's awful. I wouldn't want anyone to experience that if you didn't have to. But for me, because I can't do more, I feel like the least I can do is be present and let them know that I see them and I understand what they're going through. But it's brutal.
Yeah, I would imagine anyone that takes this position and does this job has an incredible amount of empathy and generosity and just simply a true genuine care for people and the people in their community. And so, how do you deal with the heaviness of some of that stuff? I mean, I'm sure it has some sort of impact on your mental health.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I have my dark moments, but I have an amazing support structure. My wife Lindsay is incredible. We've been married now for 19 years, together for 25, and she's my rock. My two daughters are 15 and 12, and it's not really in my personality, but if there was a time when I might be feeling a little bit, maybe my head was getting a little too big, there's nothing like a 12 and a 15-year-old to humble you very quickly. I also have a great group of friends that specialize in humbling me because they've known me long before I was mayor, and they remind me of that regularly. My family, my parents, I call my mom and dad. They're my special advisors. I call if I need advice or I just need to vent, they're always there for me, my brother and sister and their family. So I'm really blessed to have amazing people in my life that support me. I don't think I could do this job without them. Not to mention my in-laws, raising two children with two parents. Lindsay has a full-time job as well. My in-laws, particularly my mother-in-law, Denise, has gone above and beyond for the past 8 years to help us, whether it's rides to and from school or practice. And again, Lindsay and I say all the time that we don't know what we would do without our family. And I think about people, single parents and others that don't have that support structure. And I don't know how they do it because we barely do it. And that's with all of that help. But I'm really lucky to have it.
Yeah, it certainly takes a village, and I completely agree with you. I mean, I was talking to a couple of women this past weekend at our supper club that were both single moms, and they had expressed a little bit of shame around being single mothers. And we're because the supper club itself was focused on the topic of legacy. A lot of women build businesses for their legacy, right? For their children to be able to pass something on to their children.
Yeah,
And, there was someone that I stopped dead in her tracks and I was like, just so you know, being a single mom is probably one of the most respectable and impressive things anyone could do.
absolutely. That's 10 times harder than anything I do on a daily basis.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
And, yes, yeah, you're super lucky to have an amazing support
Amen.
system. Is there anything that you like to do by yourself, just for yourself, or anywhere you like to go in central New York?
I love Syracuse University sports. So, whether it's basketball or football or soccer, if there's a game on, I'll try to catch it. And that's a nice moment where I can put the phone down and just kind of escape a little bit. I like being outdoors. I like just, not, climbing mountains or anything, although I've done a little bit of that, but just being outside, whether it's on my back deck or taking a walk through one of our amazing parks. My youngest daughter has recently gotten into fishing, so we've been doing fishing lately, and I think I'm seeing that in my future when I have a little more time on my hands. And like I said, just spending time with family and friends. Those are the grounding moments that I get pretty regularly, enough to keep me going.
This episode of Cultivate CNY is brought to you by, well, no one yet. But that's about to change. After 2 years of incredible conversations with Central New York's most inspiring leaders, we are officially opening the door to sponsors. That's right. If you'd like to support the show and get your brand in front of a loyal and growing audience, email us at podcast@cnywomensnetwork.com to learn more about sponsorship opportunities. All right, back to the show. When you first took office, what kind of city did you want Syracuse to become, and how close do you think we are to that vision today?
So that was actually one of the first things that we did once I brought together kind of the core team. We established a vision for Syracuse, and our vision is for Syracuse to be a growing city that embraces diversity and creates opportunity for all. So just to break that down a little bit, by most metrics up until recently, we haven't grown as a city. We've lost population in recent decades. We've lost jobs, and so the goal was to begin to change that trajectory. But as we change it, getting towards the end of the vision statement, we want to do it in a way where we're truly creating opportunity for all. When we have seen investment in this community, far too often it leaves certain communities behind, historically marginalized communities, women, people of color. Those are communities that we've very intentionally prioritized as we've secured investments and made investments of our own. And again, central to that vision, embracing our diversity. We live in an incredibly diverse city. And I know that, it's unfortunate with the current federal administration, there's a lot of kind of rolling back of focusing on diversity, but it is truly one of our greatest strengths. In the city school district, I think something like over 80 languages spoken. We're a proud refugee resettlement community. And when you go through our neighborhoods and you see restaurants and businesses that have been opened by immigrants and refugees, you can't recreate that. That's something that is unique and authentic to Syracuse. And so, again, those are all things that we've really tried to lean into. And so, looking back on 8 years, 8 years is a relatively short period of time. Much of what got us to this point in terms of some of the negative aspects of the community have been decades in the making. But, we, in the 2020 census, we actually did grow in population for the first time in 70 years. We are seeing investment in many of our neighborhoods, including right here in downtown, that, I think many people look back whimsically on, the downtown of the 50s and 60s, and maybe we don't have as many people on the streets and maybe as many retail stores, but if you look at downtown Syracuse in 2025 and compare it to 1985, 1995, we have come so far, and that's the case for a lot of our neighborhoods as well. So I think we are on our way to achieving that vision. I think we've certainly made progress, but there's a lot of work to do. And so my goal as I close out my administration is just to tee up for the next administration the ability to just carry those positive things forward.
What are you doing to support, kind of pass the baton and support the next person to take this position?
Yeah, so I know we're not here to talk about politics, but I am strongly supporting Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens, and so that's part of I think my role is identifying the right person to carry that vision and that progress forward, and I believe that she's that person. Beyond that, we've all recognized within the administration that we can't control who comes in next, but we can control what information is provided. And so just this morning, we sent out a transition memo to department heads that wasn't specific to any candidate. It just said, here are the things that we want you to document for the next administration. So just making sure that we share that information, that we set up whoever comes in next, from the next mayor to the next department head, that we set them up for success. Because setting politics aside, the worst thing that could happen is for us to do something that would make the next mayor less likely to be successful. It's in all of our best interests for whoever the next mayor is to be successful. And so, again, whether it's the transition planning process or my own support in whatever way they want it, if it's to go away and hide out for a while, I'm happy to do that. If they want my advice and my guidance, I'm happy to offer that. But it's in all of our best interests for that next mayor to be successful.
If there's someone listening to this episode right now that is curious or might even want to potentially become the mayor of Syracuse,
Yeah.
what are some qualities and characteristics you think are best for someone to take that position?
So I think it's important for anybody that aspires to public service to find ways to do good and to support the community that they aspire to serve before they run for office. Volunteering in the community, sitting on boards, making your way into places and spaces that you haven't necessarily spent time in. I think it's really important for you to understand as much as you can the community that you want to serve. Beyond that, I think that do your homework. I know that seems simple, but there's a lot of people that jump into this space with opinions that aren't necessarily supported by facts or information. And so, I have no problem being challenged by people, but I expect that you're going to do your homework. And so I think it's really important that people educate themselves, seek out information, be curious. Also, be self-reflective. I mentioned, how I really try to look at myself and the decisions that I make through a critical lens and understand and acknowledge when maybe you don't get something right. But ultimately, with all that said, I think also just being a good collaborator, being a good partner. Again, in politics, sometimes it can be an antagonistic atmosphere. It can be divisive. I think oftentimes people misconstrue being a good partner and collaborator as being someone that doesn't have strong opinions. I have strong opinions. I don't always agree with the people that I work with, but I am a firm believer that whether it's the county executive, the governor, the common council, it's critical that we all have positive working relationships, because when that hasn't been the case, I think our community has suffered. And when it has been the case, which largely it has been for in recent years, the community benefits from that. And so I think, again, being a good partner is critical as well.
What is the campaign process like? Like that's a lot of work.
So there's a reason I'm not running for another office, Alex. It is a lot. This might be a little dramatic, but I say that it kind of sucks the life out of me. There are certain things that I love. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed going door to door and talking to people. Despite my very public job, I'm fairly introverted, so the idea of that was pretty daunting. But I get energized when I go out and I talk to people. And again, I get energized by being able to help people. But the political process is what I struggle with. I'm not affiliated with a political party. I never have been, and part of that is because I understand why they exist, and there are certainly many very capable and successful effective public servants who are very loyal to their party. But I always struggled with the idea that, number one, in a society, in a country as diverse as we are, that all of us could fit very neatly into one of these two boxes, Republican or Democrat. And I think what you're seeing when you look at enrollment trends is actually more and more people are choosing to not affiliate with a party. I also struggled with the idea that the small group of people within those parties that ultimately make the decisions about who the designated candidates are is inherently undemocratic in the way it's done. Often, not always, but often. And the idea that that because somebody else is a member of your party, that's the sole litmus test for whether or not you're going to support that person. I think we're all again very complex people, and I think that the party process doesn't do us justice in terms of acknowledging the complexity of us as individuals and as of our society. So it's not fun, but there are positive aspects to it. And I think ultimately for anybody, if you're getting into politics, and this is something again that my dad ingrained in me, the politics, the campaigning, that's a means to an end. The end is public service. It's serving people. I think some people get caught up in viewing the politics as the end game. And I think as long as you understand that it's just part of the process and keep your priorities on the people that you aspire to serve, then you'll get through it, as I have. But again, I also think that you really, if you're going to put yourself and your family through that, you have to make sure that it's worth it to you. And for me, running for mayor was. There isn't another position right now where I view it as being worth that effort. That could change, but right now I'm looking forward to finding a different way to do good without having to go through that political process.
So you're not thinking of taking office anywhere else or doing public service right after your term is done?
So not running for another office. Again, there's a lot of ways to do good and to help people and to serve, and I'm actively looking for those other things. I would not be surprised if I didn't run for anything else ever, but I never say never, and I wouldn't have told you probably 15, 20 years ago that I thought I was ever going to run for mayor. So, life has a way of surprising you. And so I'm not, drawing any lines in the sand. I'm just kind of taking it day by day. And right now, the goal is find a way to continue to serve, but to do it outside of politics and maybe with a slightly lower profile.
Well, you're in the middle of figuring all this out right
Yeah.
now since your term is over in just a little over 2 months. What are some of the interests or options you're exploring right now? Where do you think you want to go
Yeah,
next?
it's been an interesting process. I've joked, and maybe I should just do it, but I've joked that I can't really just go on LinkedIn and click open to work and see what happens. Although I am
I'm
kind of
sure you'd
curious
get
as
a
I
lot
say it.
of interesting
So I am
pitches.
I'm lucky that I have had a number of people approach me, prospective employers expressing interest, and I'm very flattered and humbled by that. Um, Not yet sure whether or not any of those are exactly the right option. Part of it is just not knowing what else is out there, and so I'm trying not to rush it. But I think in terms of public service in the public sector, a number of mayors have gone on to serve in state government, and that's not something that I'm opposed to. I do want to continue to live in Syracuse. That's the goal. My daughters are in 10th and 7th grades, and we're really happy in the Syracuse City School District, and they are too. And so we want that to continue. Private sector, there are some opportunities, and I have previously worked in the private sector. And I think for me, I'm not opposed to it as long as I can still feel like I'm making a positive contribution to the community. So that's on the table. I'm also interested in nonprofit and philanthropy work. There's so many amazing organizations in this community that are doing good things that I'm not opposed to working with them. But I just threw out basically the entire universe of possibilities. So I really haven't figured it out yet. But again, for me, I need to be able to connect whatever I'm doing on a daily basis to feeling like I'm making a positive contribution to the community. But I recognize that there's a lot of ways to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We do have some incredible nonprofit organizations
Mhm.
here in Syracuse. It's something I tell people we're very fortunate to have. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone trying to make a difference in their community, especially for, young emerging professionals and leaders?
So I think back to a few points that I made, I think just getting involved in any way that works for you at that point. Again, whether it's volunteering, serving on a board, doing little things, something as simple as walking around your block and picking up litter. I think that there are so many ways to make a difference, and sometimes people get hung up on it has to be this organization or this title. There are a lot of ways to do it. One of the pieces of advice that I give every class that I visit in school, and it's very simple, overly simple, but when I look at the world around us, sometimes I think that maybe we all just need to go back to basics. Just be kind to people, treat people with respect and dignity. And I think if everyone did that, our community would be a better place. But again, there's so many different ways to do good, and I just encourage people not to worry about doing the exact right thing. Just do something, and usually in doing that, other opportunities will emerge.
What is one thing you're hopeful about for Syracuse's future?
I am incredibly bullish on the future of the city. I wouldn't do this job. I couldn't do this job if I wasn't. That isn't to say there aren't a lot of challenges still in front of us, but when I look at the investment that's happening in this community, certainly the Micron opportunity has the potential to have a generational impact on not just the city of Syracuse, but Onondaga County, the entire region. The Interstate 81 project that's underway is going to transform parts of the city. There is so much to be excited about and to look forward to. There's so many amazing businesses here that are investing. We have incredible schools that, regardless of where you live, you have the opportunity to send your kids. And we have all of the other amenities that sometimes we take for granted, from the incredible beauty of the surrounding landscape to the arts and cultural and sports amenities that we have. We have all the ingredients, and I think we're already well on our way. For me, the key is getting back to that vision statement, ensuring that as we see that new opportunity, that new investment, that it really benefits as many people as possible. If we can figure out a way to capture those investments, and again, I'll go back to Micron because it's the biggest example, and ensure that people that are in the city of Syracuse benefit from those opportunities, get the training that they need to work there. Micron is going to be significant no matter what, but to make it truly transformational, it's how do we connect those historically marginalized communities and neighborhoods, and that's not just in the city. We have a lot of rural communities, inner ring suburban communities that are struggling. If we can connect those communities and those individuals to these opportunities, the sky's the limit for Syracuse.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the last couple of years, I have felt the difference in this city, and
Good, me
it's
too.
so exciting to
It is.
be a part of it. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And I also can't wait to see what happens next for you.
Me too. I think my wife and my family and everybody else are anxious about it too. But what I tell everybody is, I'm going to be here. So even if I won't have as high profile position, you'll still see me at Wegmans. You'll still see me, at the park or out and about, going out to dinner downtown. And like you, I'm just excited to be in Syracuse at this moment. I really feel like we're in a moment here, and again, I hope that over the past 8 years, well, I know that over the past 8 years that I've helped contribute to that moment, and I hope that I can continue to do that. But just as someone that has grown up here and has, seen the community struggle, and persevere, I'm just so excited to see what's to come, and look forward to experiencing it with you and everybody else.
Thank you so much for your time,
Yeah, thanks
Mayor
for having
Ben
me.
Walsh, soon to be just Ben
That's
Walsh.
it. Yeah,
It was an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate you.
thanks. Right back at you.
Whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been listening since the beginning, I do not take it for granted. When I started this podcast, I honestly didn't know where it would go. I just knew that I wanted to have real conversations with people doing meaningful work right here in Central New York. 2 years in, this still feels like a dream, but I also know that we are just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join the 32% of people who tune into the show regularly and follow us on this app. And here's my promise to you: I'll keep showing up with my whole heart. I'll keep inviting guests who inspire me and asking the questions that I know matter most to people like us, people building something right here in CNY. So thank you for being a part of this.